you and I know the market right now is ridiculous. So I was thinking about the first property that we talked about was going to be one that was a little bit more turnkey.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried I'm going to be overpaying for the turnkey property right now. So I thought that would give me some time to see what's happening in the market and hoping that things slow down because kids are back in school. There's more going on versus June, July. I'm expecting everything to continue to pick up.
Got you. That's an excuse.
Am I thinking about that the right way?
That's an excuse not to invest. What's going on, good people, man? Welcome back to First Generation Wealth Builders. I'm back in the building, man, with Mr. Andre Franklin. What's going on, man?
Chilling, man. About to go to softball practice after we get done with this, but excited to be here with you, man.
Hey, man, so you just mentioned the practice, and you was like, she got her first hit, meaning your daughter got her first hit, so now you ready to coach. You went coaching before to get the first hit?
So here's what's scary, bro. Like, you know the era we grew up in, right? So I don't know how to turn it off.
I know about this part. Go ahead. I don't even know.
So, like, my son started playing a couple years ago, and, like, I tried not to get involved. And then I end up on the sidelines, like, assistant, you know what I mean, doing stuff. And so they asked me, they're like, you want to coach? I'm like, nah, I don't want to be a coach. They're like, well, you can take a team. We'll give you a team. I'm like, nah, I'm cool. And my wife was like, why won't you do that? I was like, because I'm afraid that if I'm their coach, they won't like me as their dad. Because I don't know how to do both. And so I'm like, they'll have a million coaches, but I'm the only person that can be their dad.
Hey, Zig, this dude will be out there like a dark-skinned Bobby Knight.
But I do it now. I be walking on the field like, hey, pay attention. Because they still kids. They be playing in the sand. They be hey. And I'm like, man, see, look, I can't. You got to go home with me. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, what's that like, though? Like, what's home like? Do you review the game?
This is why I'm saying I don't want to coach, because I'm going to start doing that.
Okay.
You see, like, I'll pull out my phone and I'll, like, record and I'll be like, his elbow ain't up. He ain't bend his knees. And I have to not say anything about that stuff, because I'm like, once I go, like, I was literally at Dick's today buying stuff so we could go practice. I'm like, y'all got to get y'all swing together. Ain't played a lick of baseball in my life, but I know how to coach athletes.
Okay.
So I'm like, I can't. Again, you know the era we grew up in. Like, I practiced 7 days a week. It was not a thing. So I'm like, this ain't that era. You can't just be like, we gonna practice every day. Got you.
All right, man, let's tap in, man.
Yeah.
Let's tap back into real estate, man.
Yeah.
So before we get started, man, for the sake of the YouTube channel, everything that I got going and how you supporting it by being here, you know, even on the Sunday like today, I appreciate your vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think that I wanted to touch on that because a lot of people don't understand, if you don't become vulnerable first, there's no way to get help and or improve your situation.
Yeah.
If you tell me just a little bit, I can really only help you just a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that's a hard lesson for anybody to learn, man. I had a boss, shout out to Jason DeGroff, back in 2015, 2016. Mm-hmm. He said to me, Andre, you're really, really technically strong, but your people skills have to improve. And he said something to me that I said to you years later.
Hold on, I got to interject. That's why he does Bobby Knight, because the people skills suck.
He said to me, and my wife even said it, they both said, people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Break that down a little bit more.
So what he was trying to get me to understand is you can be the most technically sound person in a room. You can know all of the ones and zeros in my world. You can know all of the technical detail you need to know to have whatever conversation you need to have. But people don't care about that until they know that you care about them, until they know that you want the best for them. So a big part of that is learning to be vulnerable and being open and being transparent with people, because then that affords people the opportunity to be transparent with you. I was losing because I was so transactional that people were like, yeah, he's smart, but how do we know we can trust him? I wasn't aware that that's what was happening. So I would work really, really hard at knowing my stuff. And then I would show up and demonstrate that I knew my stuff. And people are like, yep, he's smart. But in terms of like advancing in my career, finding other opportunities, it just wasn't happening. And it wasn't until he sat in my office with me for like 4 hours and just broke me down. He was like, you had this problem because of this. You had this problem because of that. See how all of this deals with your interactions with people and how you actually come across? You come across like you're so far above them when you're talking that they feel like they can't relate to you. You talk more about computers and routers and switches, and you haven't said anything to these people about the fact that you have 3 children and a wife at home. They don't know you, so they don't know what you care about. Therefore, they don't care that you know all this technical stuff. And it changed the way I had to look at vulnerability, because I thought I was raised, you don't put your personal business out there. You don't talk about that stuff, especially at work. And that's true when you're an individual contributor for the most part. When you start looking at getting into management and having to delegate and lead people and influence people to get them to do things, it has way more to do with your ability to establish trust and credibility than it does with your technical know-how.
Understood. When was this conversation, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, this was 2015. I had just taken the job, and he actually recruited me to take the job from another team inside the same organization.
Since that moment, since this conversation, obviously that's something that you have to practice and develop.
Yeah.
And you have to do there's some reflection that has to occur as well.
Yeah.
And in reflecting, you actually have to be honest with yourself. And maybe like sometimes even ask that person how they feel about the relationship.
Yes.
What could you identify some relationships or a relationship that has just changed due to the vulnerability?
Yeah, my relationship with my wife. My relationship with my wife. Again, keep in mind, we've known each other for 20 years, right? So this isn't like we've been married 14, but we went to high school together. So we got to watch each other grow up. But I had to learn, to shorten the story, I said something to her early on in our marriage that really stuck with both of us. I said, I'm not going to fight you to lead you. And so I don't want people to take that the wrong way. I'm not trying to say as a man or as a husband, I make all the decisions. What I'm trying to say is, from a biblical perspective, God holds men accountable for a certain portion of the marriage relationship, the marriage dynamic. For my portion, I'm held accountable for how I lead. It does not mean she's not a leader. It means I'm held accountable for how I lead. And so I was saying to her in that moment, I can't have the responsibility of leading and have to fight with you about doing it. I'm going to do the best that I can do to demonstrate that I know what I'm doing, or at least I'm going to ask questions when I don't. And then you're going to have to decide you want to follow or not. But I'm not going to fight with you about the concept because it's my job. Like, your job is to run your company. Imagine having to fight with your employees about doing your job. That's what I was trying to get across. So it's not a lesser or a dominant or anything. It was just, this is my responsibility. So getting back to your question, what I learned in a short time after that was me leading her requires me to be extremely vulnerable with her about what I don't know. And as a husband and as a man, that was hard because I'm supposed to know, is what I, was reared to think. And what I learned by opening up and letting her know where I don't have answers and what I haven't figured out is I'm now leveraging my partner the way I'm supposed to. That's why I said it was important earlier for me to emphasize leading does not mean dominance. That's not what I learned. What I learned is this is my responsibility. And so as far as I can see, I'm supposed to be leading. When I can't see, leadership looks like being honest about the fact that I don't have an answer. I don't know. That's still leadership, right? But that requires that leader to be open and vulnerable and honest. I learned that in my marriage relationship because I said my boss was the person who told me, you can't, what did I say? You can't, they don't care what you know until they know that you care. I had to say also, my wife said that to me before. My wife had been saying that to me for a while. It didn't register until I heard it from my boss. So the lesson for me in that was I wasted a bunch of time not hearing my wife. Had I heard my wife, think about the number of people, let's say that was a 6-month period. Think about the number of people I interacted with where God had been setting up opportunities for me to practice that lesson that I missed because I couldn't hear it from her. Had I heard it from her when I was supposed to, who knows what other things could have happened, right? So being willing to say to her, I don't know, is probably one of the earliest examples and the most tangible examples I can think of me being vulnerable about leading or about what's really going on for me.
Got you. That's clutch. That's clutch. That was a whole rap song. That wasn't a bar. It's a rap song, but it's something that we gotta take true to heart and apply it not only to marriage but to friendships, to work, to business. And it's very important. I mean, you told me that. You know what I mean? So, man, I don't know if this is vulnerable, but I'm gonna be very honest. What I say don't really matter, right? It don't really matter. But you know, I'm like that mentor friend here. You know what I mean? So I know what your house cost prior to you selling it and everything. I understand where your bills were at. I understand the concept of bringing in-laws to prepare for the future of taking care of them when they become children again. And I understand the concept of minimizing today's expenses to be able to save and prepare for them. I think we talked about appreciation of everything and how the dollar is depreciating over time if it's saved. Then we discovered that they both had properties that we could kind of like utilize to obtain income, whether it was rentals or Airbnb in the last episode. And then there was one that had a house that was a little bit more pricey, and we talked about the area. It might be great for Airbnb.
Right.
We talked about the pros and cons of, you got to furnish an Airbnb versus over here you don't. Then we talked about the area, but we also discovered that there was some equity there for both properties, and how we could take the equity out, keep the property, rent it, and now we could take that and get multiple properties, hopefully, or at least another property. So I think that leads me to go back to remind you and anybody listening that it's an opinion based on my strategy. Everybody's situation at home is different, but as we are teaching people how to get free rental properties at Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur, it's imperative that I talk about the power of cash flow. If you build cash flow and you allow those assets that they currently have and you position them to where you could take the money out and maybe get a property or two out of those. So now you have 3 properties per each individual that you're going to have to take care of. If it's building cash flow, it could take care of them now and it could take care of them later. That's how they fish for themselves. And instead of you buying a $750,000 house, you could buy a house that accommodates you and your family. You could decrease your expenses. And as I said before, I feel like you was fishing for everybody. I think that you're more proactive than, you may have more resources and opportunities as well. I don't know everybody, but just speaking as I hear it. So if you got more cash in pocket because you're expending less, because they're fishing for themselves, you can now build your family's or your next generation's wealth quicker because you're not deploying it
on those other situations.
And that's how we could really leverage the rental properties.
Yeah. And so back to being vulnerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me sharing that conversation with you in private, I'm so glad I did it because
in public? It was in front of camera.
No. I'm talking about we talked about this a while ago, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So but if I never shared that, we wouldn't be here today because you wouldn't have known the information.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, we need to talk about that.
Right. Yeah. And so this is where I think, like, bringing it back to being vulnerable, I was painting my life's canvas as we were having that conversation, and it included what the best I could conjure up, right? Mm-hmm. But by being vulnerable and sharing it with you, we now get to go back and reimagine it. It doesn't mean what I thought was wrong. It doesn't mean what I thought was right. We both ultimately don't know exactly how this is going to play out. But I think this mentoring in front of people live so they can see it helps them to see how much sketching and resketching and redrawing happens as you're really putting together plans and considering them carefully, right? So I welcome that feedback. I know, like, the whole vulnerable thing is a thing for you, but my best results have been achieved through having these types of conversations with people that know more on a subject than I do. So I think you're absolutely right. And it really helped me to change my perspective on what do we do with those properties, right? And they're not mine, so I'm not trying to say this I can make these decisions. These are grown, highly capable.
But it's for a conversation now that
for all of us.
Yeah.
Because they and it's funny because they brought it up to me before, right? Like we sat down and talked about, do we sell them or what do we do and how do we make it work? So everybody's open to exploring the options. Where I appreciate having the mentor relationship is you can help me think past the option to really exploring what would a hypothetical version of that look like.
Understood.
And that's where it becomes a lot easier to make the decision with confidence.
Understood. So,
but Airbnb is on the table, definitely, and renting those out. Nobody, as I've had these conversations with you, and I've gone back and had them with them. No one is coming back to me like these things are off the table.
Okay, got you. So we got a lot. As far as like building your team. Mm-hmm. And it's not building a team, but starting the relationships.
Right.
You know what I mean? So any updates on that?
Yeah, so I had dinner. My wife and I had dinner with a real estate agent on Friday.
Okay. Who was that?
So it's the guy that actually helped us sell our house.
Okay, cool.
So his name is Jared Nelson. And Jared is an investor. So it's funny, I quoted you and I told him my concern is, as an agent, you're really interested in trying to sell houses for as much as you can. How would this work? Because as an investor, I'm looking at getting properties as low as I can. So he talked through that. He's like, hey, I do investments as well. So I totally get it. I'm more interested in doing what's best for my clients because I found if I do what they need me to do and I can add some value in other ways along the way, they continue to come back.
Got you. So I don't know this guy.
Right.
But I wanna expand on this situation.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm him. Mm-hmm. We're at dinner. Mm-hmm. You ask me that.
That's what he's supposed to say.
There you go. That's one.
Yeah.
I have my client's best interest.
Yeah.
But if I find a property that's a great investment.
Yeah, it's going to him. That's why I said I had one conversation. I still got other people to talk to.
Got you. And I think the takeaway there is it's very difficult to be a beginning investor.
Yeah.
And also have an agent that invests.
Yeah.
Because there could be a conflict of interest
sure.
that could occur. And I'm not saying that he can't get you properties, but it would hinder that. You would get what he can't get.
I think you're absolutely right? That conversation, what I realized immediately, and this is why I'm glad we talked in one of our last episodes about buying list. Because he can't be my only funnel, even if he's one of them, right? I still have to have something that allows me to search opportunities outside of him, not because he would be, intentionally deceitful, but he just may miss something that I'm interested in.
All day.
Right?
All
and
day.
So I think it's not one or the other for me. It's clearly both and.
Understood. Okay, all right. So we know where you want to go.
So hold on, man. You don't get to have me do the homework and not let me talk about it. I did other homework.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah, let's talk about the homework. This is good then.
So the other thing I did in that same conversation, he put me in touch with a hard money lender.
Dope.
So I got the contact info. Now here, I got to be completely honest. He had already given me the guy's contact info. He just reminded me at dinner that I already had it. So I've got it on my calendar for Monday because I'm trying to take some time off today to set a meeting with that guy. I got his contact info, so that's on my calendar is to actually set that meeting.
Got you. Before I move on, do we have any more?
Nah, that's all the homework.
Hey, no, that's good homework, though, Ziggy. That's good homework. That's good homework. All right.
Yeah.
So, we know where you want to go.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Something that just, man, it stung me in the rib. He was just like, you know, I got a lot of things going here and there. I'm just waiting for one of them to pop.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you have to be able to laser focus in on something to really like push it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your energy, you only have so much energy to distribute to really make it pop.
Yep.
So my question to you is, building these relationships are essential, but those could be done during downtime. But when are we officially going to start the pursuit of this? Because when you start this, I think that's the end of some other stuff.
Yeah. So I need until about August to taper down the stuff that I'm doing, right? So I DJ for F45 Gym. Shout out to Chris and JT every Saturday from 6 in the morning until about 10:30.
Got you.
I've started to work to get other guys in place. So I'm introducing them. I'm having them do a Saturday here, a Saturday there. So I need a little bit of time to ramp down me having to physically be there so those guys can be there. But make sure that it's still run and executed well. I'm not leaving it, but I can't do the day-to-day and try to do this, to your point. The other thing that I know that takes a considerable amount of time, I've already started to taper back. You know Don Butler, shout out to Don, and Todd, those are my partners in Brunch and Grooves, right? So I am DJing less there so that I can make sure that I buy some of that time back, because people don't know there's a lot of prep that goes into being ready to DJ. So I'm spending less time there. I'm still getting hit up a lot for DJ gigs. A lot of those I'm just like, I'm not taking because I'm trying to make sure that August is not jam-packed with stuff so I can really run at it.
So have you ever had an accountability partner?
Yeah.
Like what are the benefits, what some of the benefits been to you and results from having one?
I've been more effective, has been the biggest result, because somebody is not letting me get away with dates slipping or expectations that I set for myself not being met without at least having to say, so what are you going to do different? Right? Like that's been the biggest benefit to me, is somebody holding up a mirror to me and saying, dude, where you at? What you doing?
So what's our date? I'm gonna play accountability partner.
I'm gonna get my phone so I can look at the calendar. See, this is the problem, y'all. I never know what we're going to talk about.
Your phone's outside.
Oh, that's right. We put it out there.
Yeah.
So I need a device so I can look at a calendar and say.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
See, he knows what we're going to talk about. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
I gotta take my Pornhub off.
Yeah, I don't need none of that. I don't need none of that action. So school's going to start, I think, the first full week in August, or the second full week. I would say let's plan on by Friday, August 27th.
Got you. All right. So we got approximately 3.5 months.
Yep.
All right. So at that moment, we're going to delegate about how many hours to real estate you think you could do in a week?
Yeah, if I'm doing 4 hours on the DJ side now every Saturday, I think I can free those 4 hours up to then devote to this.
You also got your Wine Wednesday thing. You gonna keep that going? Because this is the truth.
Yeah. Tell me what you're thinking, because you already got a thought.
This is gonna take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because you need to learn. You're gonna have a lot of questions.
Okay.
There's a lot of research.
Okay.
There's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
So if I spend 20 hours, but you give me 4 hours a week in real estate, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
You're not going. I'm not saying you can't get a deal. because you can't
It's
get a
just
deal
gonna
that
take
first
a lot longer.
hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you just luck of the draw sometimes.
Okay.
But the truth is, the more time and the more effort we're giving, it's like shots.
Mm-hmm.
If you shoot, 20 hours to shots in the gym
Mm-hmm.
a week, when game time in a month, like you're going to be more prepared than me to shoot
Right.
4.
No, it makes sense. It makes total
You know
sense.
what I mean? You're going to be, and if we're going to really try to scale this
Yeah.
to get 50,
Yeah.
you really have to be putting in offers weekly because competition is so tight,
Especially right now.
that you have to get better. You got to be precise. You got to get practice on the phone, talking to people. You're going to get rejected. We got to talk about that. We got to basically be sharpening the pencil every time. And so that's really how you have to look at it. The effort that you put into it is what you're going to get out. And 4 hours is a hobby.
Not a lot. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. So yeah,
Just something to think about.
No. There's nothing to think about. Like
you asked me what you thinking. I just basically used bullshitting.
You think so?
Like 4 hours ain't enough, and you
Okay,
know that
got you.
it ain't enough to build wealth.
Got
You don't really
That's
want to
fair.
build wealth.
Not if I'm doing 4 hours. That's right. So I don't think 1 o'clock Wednesdays is enough in terms of what I'd have to cut.
What do you mean?
I think I'd have to cut more stuff.
100%. Something to think about. You know what I mean? Let's keep it pushing. So
That's good though. I appreciate that.
Ooh, those tough conversations.
No.
You know what I mean? I know when a boy told me I had to get the turntables, I looked at him like, you stupid. What's wrong with you, bro? All right. So I think that let me see. I don't have it with me. But on that sheet that I had and we talked about, obviously we want to talk about your spouse and your teammate. You said she was down. You got a mentor and myself. I think you should get another one. We talked about that. So talking to a realtor, I mean, you're taking progress in that. So that's dope. Then you lending. You got one guy. I say talk to Jared. Get multiple lending options because they have different criteria.
Right.
So we want to expose those. Title company. I gave you his number.
That's on my list of stuff to do.
Investors title, just in case you guys want to use him here in Indianapolis. Then we talked about talking to a lawyer.
Yes.
Hawker and Associates is probably going to be the best for you.
Okay.
You just be like, hey, I new investor and I want to get a purchase agreement. I could give you mine and you could just have them review it.
Okay.
You just pay for her time.
Okay.
Versus paying for that
The whole
long
service.
time. Yeah. If you're an entrepreneur, man, and you take any of our courses, you have access to the purchase agreement that's already been reviewed by a lawyer. So, man, tap in with us and make sure you lock in. So, as far as process, 3 months. As far as what we need to do in 3 months, I think that you could get this done in like 2 weeks max with your schedule.
Okay.
You know,
You mean like the acquiring the first property?
Just, you know what I mean? No, in the sense of really just building these relationships.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understand the process of you have partnerships, so you just can't drop stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I definitely I want to encourage you to start sooner. And the reason I say that is because success loves speed.
I like that.
And in every aspect of life, speed and success have a great partnership. And you know, we could take it as health. So if you find out that your blood pressure is high, the quicker you take action to exercise and things like that, the quicker you can get back to getting off your medicines. If you start looking for your deals now, the quicker you start building wealth.
Gotcha.
Whatever it may be. If we got into an argument and we were not friends, the quicker that we come to resolving and having a conversation, which is a tough thing, sometimes uncomfortable, but the quicker we do that, you know what I mean? The quicker we get better results and continue moving forward. Yeah. I would also like to say this though. Sometimes in business there's timing. And there's a preparation that goes into it. So sometimes the difference between average, good, and great is the speed of application.
So then that's part of something I think we should talk about, right? When I talk about August, you and I know the market right now is ridiculous. So I was thinking about the first property that we talked about was going to be one that was a little bit more turnkey. Mm-hmm. I was worried I'm going to be overpaying for the turnkey property right now. So I thought that would give me some time to see what's happening in the market and hoping that things slow down because kids are back in school. There's more going on versus June, July. I'm expecting everything to continue to pick up.
Gotcha. That's an excuse.
Am I thinking about that the right way?
That's an excuse not to invest. And it's cool. And the reason I say it's an excuse is because you're not educated. If you're educated on how to purchase, and we'll talk about that here pretty soon.
Okay.
If you're always purchasing right, you're really conditioning yourself to be prepared to purchase at any time. Because that house that was $50,000 in 2010, and the price went up to $65,000.
Yeah.
I was like, let me wait for the market.
Okay.
And before you know it, it's $80,000. Today I just bought the property, and now I'm flipping it, and it's worth $200,000. It's not going to change.
What do you mean it's not going
the
to
market?
change?
You know, for every home today in Indianapolis, for every home that's going for sale, there's at least 20 people trying to buy it.
Gotcha.
Therefore, it's not going to stop. Mm-hmm. Also, you have to understand that we're in the Midwest, right? So imagine us being green, meaning that the prices are cheaper when it's green. When it's red, mm-hmm. it's higher. Mm-hmm. The perimeter of the United States is typically red, mm-hmm. and it's without exception of like cities like Chicago and things like that. But we love the ocean. We love and Miami, yeah. LA, San Diego. They're in the perimeter. Therefore, real estate's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
The Midwest is very cheap. Mm-hmm. So what you have to understand, and as you're new, and anybody new listening needs to know this, that investors are coming to the Midwest to invest because the properties here, a property here that's worth $150, it's worth $1 million in LA.
Right.
It's worth a condo or apartment here that is
$300,000. Here, it's
in New York is like 1.5.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're investing their dollars here to get the most out of their bucks.
Right.
What that's doing is pushing up the bottom line.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change as others are getting smarter. That's being exposed more.
Gotcha.
So there will be a point where the whole country will go from, in the areas that are green, are going to become yellow.
Yeah.
Just because that floor is going to be raised because people are going to
maximize their investment opportunity.
Boom.
Yeah, by going to those markets. Okay, that makes total sense. I get it.
So I want you and anybody listening to take advantage of investing now because you will benefit from the floor being raised by gaining appreciation.
Gotcha. Not trying to gain the cheapest price possible.
You gain the cheapest price possible by learning how to acquire properly.
In that particular market at that time.
Correct.
Understood. Okay. All right.
You know what I mean? So I think that that's huge for us to realize, and the time is now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So let's talk about that a little bit further on. You know what I mean? But I think this is a great session. You know what I mean? For this. You know what I mean? Cool.
I appreciate you, man.
No doubt. Hey, once again, man, if you haven't been to the First Generation Wealth Builders YouTube page, make sure to tap in, man. Also, share it. Tell a friend, man. It's going down. Great conversations, dope interviews, and we're always trying to tie the relationship that, the client and or the guest has with real estate to empower us. My goal is to really share as much knowledge, expose the conversations, dope people, and build great relationships and community. So, man, tap in, and I'll see you next time.